John here, and back again with another request, and this is for Ali. I would try to pronounce your first name, but I don't want to get it wrong. But he wanted me to talk about and review Small Soldiers from 1998. And the plot here, so you have our main character in the film, Alan, who is played by Gregory Smith, our character here. And him and his dad, they run this toy store, and they get a new line of toys in. You have the Commando Elite, led by Major Chip Hazard, and you have the Gorgonites, who's led by Archer. And what Alan doesn't know is that these toys have been programmed with military technology, and they come to life. And the Commando Elite, they want to, they see the Gorgonites as the enemy, and they want to eliminate the Gorgonites, and pretty soon they declare war, and they declare war in the neighborhood to seek out the Gorgonites. And the Gorgonites, they're known for hiding. They're a peaceful kind, and they want to, again, hide. But now they have to come out and fight the Commando Elite. And that's the plot to the film here. Now, the film is directed by Joe Dante, who directed, Gremlins 1 and 2. He also directed Inner Space, which is a great movie. I would say my favorite film he did was The Burbs, which is also my favorite Tom Hanks movie. And he also directed Matinee with John Goodman, which I liked. And the cast here, you got Gregory Smith as our main character, Alan. And he was all right. I remember, he would be in The Patriot later on with Mel Gibson. Kirsten Dunst as the neighbor, the girl that Alan likes. She was fine, around this time period. She was doing movies like this, and, before she was in Jumanji. The father of Alan is played by Kevin Dunn. You've seen this guy before. He was in Godzilla, which came out the same year, 1998. And he's been in a bunch of stuff. The father of Kirsten Dunst is played by Phil Hartman. And unfortunately, this was his last movie. I want to say he died, it was like a few months before, which we all know what happened there. But Phil Hartman I miss. I really miss the guy. I wish he was still around today. But, other people in the cast here, you have David Cross, Jay Moore, which they work at this, technology facility that made these toys. And you have Dennis Leary, who's in charge. And Dennis Leary, of course, he's been in a lot of stuff. You also have, Robert Picardo. He's in there for like one scene. Dick Miller. Yeah, so, Joe Dante, he would use those guys, in quite a few of his movies. But, when you talk about the Commando Elite, Tom Lee Jones is the voice of Chip Hazard. And other people in the Commando Elite that provide voice work, you have Ernest Borgnine, Jim Brown, Bruce Dern, George Kennedy, and the Gorgonites. You have Frank Langella as the voice of Archer, and other people that provide voices, Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, Harry Shearer. So, yeah, again, you have quite a cast here, of, a lot of recognizable actors. And, again, from, Phil Hartman and David Cross and Jay Moore, Dennis Leary. He's not in the film too much, but, it's cool to see him there. And, Tommy Lee Jones as the voice of Chip Hazard. Can't go wrong there. And, again, everybody does a good job. There's not one actor or person in the cast that does a bad job. So, yeah, the cast is good here. Getting to some other stuff here, Stan Winston provided the special effects for the toys here, and I thought they were done well. You have some great animatronic and puppetry work here. You would get some CGI later, like some CGI enhancements, which may not hold up too well, but, for the most part, the special effects are done well by, again, Stan Winston. The score by Jerry Goldsmith, I thought was a good score. The direction is solid, by Joe Dante. And there's some fun stuff in the third act where, the Commando Elite, they declare war on the Gorgonites and the humans. They're in the neighborhood and, blowing stuff up and wreaking havoc. And there's some fun entertainment there in the third act. If there's like any negatives that I have here with the movie, I kind of wish that they would have pushed it a little bit more. It's a PG-13 film, and there's that part of me that feels it may be a little bit held back. Like maybe they could have pushed it a little bit more in terms of, the violence, or, maybe, and again, I know this is a PG-13 film, but, what if a human died? And if somebody died, during this whole battle in the third act, and again, I know it's kind of a kid's movie. It's a family movie, but it has that PG-13 rating. But there's that part of me that kind of wishes that, what if they went for it a little bit more? Push it just a little bit more in the third act, when all that stuff is going down. Maybe you could have had a casualty in the war. And I'm not talking about any of the Gorgonites, but, what if, and again, this is kind of like, that part of me that, like, what if a human died? But again, I know that's getting real dark. That's a totally different movie. And some other parallel universe, there's like a R-rated version of this movie, and people die. But again, that's just kind of like a small nitpick that I have. What if they just, again, pushed it a little bit more in the third act and really go for it? But other than that, I really don't have a lot to complain about here. Again, it's just kind of like that little small, which is funny. Earlier when I talked about how maybe this could have pushed it a little bit more, here's what Joe Dante said about the movie. Originally, I was told to make an edgy picture for teenagers, or when the sponsor tie-ins came in, the new mandate was to soften it up as a kiddie movie. Too late as it turned out, and there are elements of both approaches in there. Just before it was released, it was purged a lot of action explosions. So, there you go. Speaking of that. Yeah, it kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier. And I definitely watched this a lot back in the day when I had the old clamshell VHS tape. And overall, this was always fun. From the same guy that brought us, the Gremlins movies and Inner Space and The Burbs. This, may not be quite on the level of those movies. But, Small Soldiers is still solid. But thank you for watching. Thank you, Ali, for the request. And have a good day.